Howdy, y'all, and good day. With the final week approaching and time running out, I figure it might be pertinent for me to put together a piece of content talking about putting together content on a deadline, or like I like to call it, procrastination, the enemy of all. So, what I have done is I've started up this here presentation. It is 10:30 at night on the 10th of May, and I have these clips here that I've taken of the streets of San Francisco as I walk up to my car. I move it twice a week, usually about 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's nice and dead quiet. So I think I'm going to take these clips here and put together a short, maybe 90-second video on liminality. And I'll cut in between so we don't have to watch the whole thing, but let's get into it. Alright, so as you can see, I've got all my clips inside of the project panel as well as the clip I just recorded. So first things we're going to do to get started, we're going to go ahead and blast into our sequence settings here, and we're going to ensure that we're at 1920 by 1080. And from here, we're going to toss in that clip I just made. Keep existing settings. I'm not sure why its settings were. Yep, 1920, 1080. Okay, there we go. So we got that clip in, and then we're gonna pick a few of these here clips and cut them down. I'm thinking like I don't know, 90 seconds or so, something like that. So to do that, we're gonna create a new sequence. We're gonna right click in the project panel, and we are going to say new item sequence, and we're gonna call this liminality and essay. Alright, so that way I'm working on this concurrently, and I can just plunk it in at the end, and this project will grow as I'm recording these individual clips and tossing it in effectively real time, but with cuts in between. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting some in and cutting down, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, back again. So I've taken my clip here and I've cut it down, or my clips I should say, and I've cut each of these down into a 20-second little clip. So that's going to give me a runtime of a little over a minute and 20 seconds. Going to aim for 90 seconds or so with the other effects I'm about to add. So what I'd want to do is create this here like VHS effect, as is kind of my go-to. So I'm going to go into my all my stock footage overlays that I've collected. Let me take a moment and recommend saving good stock footage when you get your hands on it. If it's royalty free or if you've paid for a license for it, make sure you save it in a place where you can use it. So in my case, I'm going to use this here clip from Vecteezy, which is just this little bit of static. And you can see immediately that it's not the right size, so we're going to go ahead and adjust that size so it fits. I think just 200% will do it. Looks good. We're going to make sure that the linked selection is off and get rid of the audio because I don't need it. And I think what I'm going to do is ensure that the track targeting is on so I can press up and down. And then I'm going to take a half second from each, a half second of static in between each of these clips. So to do that, what I'm going to do is make sure I'm at the end of the clip, right here, and I'm going to razor blade off that last frame just to be sure. And then I'm going to go 15 frames because we're 30 frames per second, right? So 15 frames, and that just simply click where I'm going and go to the left 15 frames. So there we go. I've got a half second clip. We're going to cut that out. And then I also want it to have static. So in the same way, we're going to go into the assets, and I'm going to go into my sounds. Same way, if you build a library of sound effects, make sure you save them. You never know when you're going to need them for future. So I'm looking for static white noise is the one I use. We're going to plunk that in. All right, we'll take this here little clip and drag it over. And then because I've got the track targeting on, I can press down and get to the end of it. I'll take my razor blade, I'll snag some of that, and I'll press down again, goes to the end, and I now have a clip that is visual as well as audio, right? Super simple. I'm going to plug this this or a similar one in between each of my clips, and I'll be right back with the next step. Alrighty, y'all, now that we've got those clips all chopped up and got their static effects in between, I've gone ahead and selected a nice creepy soundtrack to go along with it. We're going to write a little script here in ChatGPT. Alright, folks, this is going to be the last cut back in before I show you the results of today's efforts. It is currently 12:24 a.m. On May the 11th. I've been at this for about 2 hours. And I really just wanted to illustrate what can be done if you have an idea and the footage, even though you don't have much time. So you can see I've got these clips split into the 3 layers for the VHS effect. I've got the static in between. I've got my ChatGPT written script at the bottom and some music tracks. And all music today is courtesy of epidemicsound.com. I give them about $15 a month for a license for a gigantic library of music. And then the music today for the making sequences is going to be courtesy of 1-2 Feet. So without further ado, why don't you go ahead and check out my liminality and essay and tell me what you think. Enjoy the show. Thank you much. Have you ever been alone in a space that's usually bustling with activity, only to find that it's suddenly transformed into something entirely different, something eerie and unsettling? These are liminal spaces, places that exist between the familiar and the unknown. They can be found anywhere, from abandoned buildings to deserted parking lots. These spaces create a sense of uncertainty, as we don't know what to expect and are not sure of what's going to happen next. Devoid of their usual activity, these once vibrant spaces can become downright terrifying. In the off hours, when these spaces are empty and quiet, every sound is amplified, every shadow seems to move. And as your mind starts to play tricks on you, you begin to realize that these liminal spaces are not as empty as they first appear. The right mindset can turn a once familiar place into a nightmare, transforming it into a world of dread and fear. These places induce anxiety and can leave you on edge when finding oneself in these spaces, as the potential dangers they pose come to mind. The lack of human activity and the presence of abandoned objects and structures can create a feeling of loneliness and isolation. The silence can be deafening, and the emptiness can be unsettling, making us feel like we're being watched or followed. So, the next time you find yourself alone in a liminal space, beware. That creeping sensation running up your spine might not be an overactive imagination after all.